أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. This is news from the Muslim Ummah on IBN TV8. Every Sunday we bring you a snapshot of events from the Muslim world, from Africa, the Far East, the Middle East, and we look at the commodity markets. I am Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. Stories in the news tonight. Young Jordanians set up protest camp in Amman. Syrian protesters gather in Daras Square. Ankara to treat hundreds of wounded from Libya. Pakistan asks Interpol to find Musharraf. Lady Gaga urging young Malaysians to protest against Muslim laws. And Qatar University designs an artificial cloud for the World Cup in 2022. Stay tuned.
IBN TV on Channel 8 is streaming on the World Wide Web at www.ibntt.com, keeping you in the forefront of our changing world. Tonight in our challenge slot, we have Name That Capital. We will ask you to identify the capital city of a selected country. I am Razia Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum. In our top story tonight, out of Jordan, young Jordanians, together with the main opposition party in Jordan, the Islamic Action Front, have set up a protest camp in Gamal Abdel Nasser Square in the capital city of Amman. The Islamic Action Front is at the center of a call for the removal of Jordan's Prime Minister, Maruf al-Bakit. There is also a demand for Intelligence Chief Mohammed Ruqayyah to step down. A government crackdown on protesters have so far left 2 people dead and dozens hospitalized after loyalists attacked the protest camp on Friday. Their camp was attacked by some 200 pro-government loyalists who pelted them with rocks. Police response led to a cut in the supply of electricity to the square. Protests erupted in Amman some 12 weeks ago, with Jordan's opposition party calling for constitutional change that would strip King Abdullah II of Jordan of certain powers, in particular that of the appointment of Jordan's Prime Minister. We take in this report from Al Jazeera.
The voices of Jordanians roar in downtown Amman for the 10th Friday. Their demands, political reforms, tantamount to a constitutional monarchy, and a review of King Abdullah's future role, a previously taboo subject.
It is a fair demand because we seek a direction where the monarch does not rule, so that the government is held accountable, that the government has to be elected through a fairly elected parliament. The monarch should be above the authorities, just like the British, Belgian, and Spanish monarchies. This way the government remains responsible towards the people and the parliament.
They say they want the monarch to retain his position, acting as a unifying force and arbitrator between the Palestinian and Bedouin communities. But they say he would no longer be an absolute monarch, allowing Jordanians to elect their own governments.
The government should be elected and should be given more authority. That's the basis of progress and growth. It is not possible to keep the royal palace in charge of everything. That palace can't shoulder all these responsibilities.
The protests generated a response from Jordan's King Abdullah II ibn al-Hussein, who was offered a list of concessions to end the protests. King Abdullah II assumed constitutional powers as monarch over the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan in 1999 upon the death of his father, the late King Hussein of Jordan. Shifting to news from Yemen, President Ali Abdullah Saleh said on Friday he was ready to cede power to prevent more bloodshed in Yemen, but only to what he called safe hands. Meanwhile, a massive day of departure street protests against him began in various parts of the country. Protesters encamped in their thousands outside Sana University for 6 weeks declared Friday a day of departure, where they hoped to bring hundreds of thousands into the streets in a further attempt to oust Saleh, a serial survivor of civil war, separatist movements, and militant attacks. Similar mass protests on March 18th left 52 people dead, apparently gunned down by plainclothes snipers. That bloodshed prompted a string of generals, diplomats, and tribal leaders to abandon Saleh, severely weakening his position. But on the other side of the coin, thousands of Saleh supporters in Sana'a were also out early on the streets for what they dubbed the Friday of Tolerance. Shifting to news from Syria, hundreds of Syrian protesters gathered in Dara's main square after the funeral procession of a protester from the village of Tafas, who was killed on Friday by government forces. Reports say mourners in Tafas torched the ruling Ba'ath Party's headquarters and a police station on Saturday. Witnesses said young men in Dara had climbed onto the ruins of the statue of the president's father, the late President Hafez al-Assad. More than 1,000 people are holding a silent sit-in in the Al-Omari Mosque, where protesters took possession of the mosque away from government forces on Friday. Amnesty International reported at least 55 have been killed in and around Dara. Meanwhile, President Bashar al-Assad's government has announced the release of 260 detained activists. The government also announced the withdrawal of troops from Dara. The southern city, located close to Jordan's border, has emerged as a center of Syria's unrest. And in an associated story out of Washington, D.C., a large group of protesters from Yemen, Libya, Syria, and other Muslim countries gathered near the White House on Saturday to show their support for the movement for political change sweeping across the Arab Peninsula and North Africa. We have this report and video footage from freelance reporter Ruqayyah Ahmed in Washington, D.C.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Ruqayyah Ahmed reporting for Washington, D.C.
As Americans in Washington, D.C. gear up for the Cherry Blossom Festival next weekend, other Americans have gathered in front of the White House to protest the Assad dictatorship in Syria. We took to the streets to hear what they had to say.
So, what do you know about what is happening in Syria?
The people are protesting in Syria in a peaceful way. They want freedom and democracy. But actually what happened, the government sent snipers to kill the people over there. They were so bad. It was like a massacre of bloodshed all over the cities in Latakia, Damascus, Salamein, Daraa. It's very, very unfair, and we need justice.
So what's the role of the United States government for intervention in Syria?
We ask the government, the American government, to support the people in the Arab countries to get their relief, their freedom, to come back to their democracy, to prosperity. Our countries are very rich, our people are very educated, our people is very decent people, and the regimes are, we have 22 different countries, Arab countries, all of them held by a dictatorship in that region. And we were hoping that the American democratic regime in America to support the people, not to support the Assad, the dictatorship regime.
The Syrian protesters also initiated an official organization called the Syrian Emergency Task Force. Yemeni and Libyan supporters also gathered here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The protesters expressed hope that the U.S. government will intervene to bring democratic freedom to the persecuted people in the Middle East.
We hope that Obama send a message to our governments in the Middle East, let them know we're here for shade.
My name is Hassan Abdulbasir. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and I'm 50 years old. Out of all of these 50 years, I spent only 2 years in Yemen. After watching the news and seeing what's happening there, I started to think about Yemen as my country, and it would be my responsibility to try to do anything that would help end the corruption that's occurring this moment. The Yemenis out there are dying and being injured, and the only thing they're asking for is freedom. I really want them to have the same freedom we have here in the U.S. I would like to ask President Obama in a very respectful way to help stand next to the Yemeni people and help them have a democracy just like we have one in this country.
Gaddafi and his men against the whole country. And honestly, at this point, there's no way the people will ever be free without the continuation of this no-fly zone. They'll continue to fight it as long as they can, but as long as Gaddafi's there, they'll never be totally free. So they'll continue until they get Tripoli and until all of Libya is free. Just try to get like people more aware of what's happening. There's a lot of people still don't know. Do you hope to achieve this protest?
Achieve Gaddafi is out of power, hopefully, one day. This is our goal. Gaddafi's been in power for 42 years. We are sick and tired of it. He has taken Libya to ready to hell. I mean, Libya right now, we lost more than 15,000 people right now. We have more than 25,000 injured right now. So I think we're going to have to make full stop for this guy. We need to be gone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What do you hope to achieve with this protest?
We'd like to achieve public awareness and to tell our story to the community here. Basically, let them know about the treatment of Gaddafi's regime to his Libyan people.
I support the independence of all the people of the earth.
What do you think of all these
Bring about a better system of government when the people can choose their own rulers.
Thank you. This is Ruqayyah Ahmed reporting from Washington, D.C.
And that was our own Ruqayyah Ahmed with a special report from activities of the Muslim Ummah in the capital, Washington, D.C. IBN News from the Muslim Ummah is really pleased to have your timely report, keeping us on the cutting edge of the changing world events. Now continue with news from Iran. Leader of the Islamic Revolution, Ayatollah Said al-Khamenei, has offered condolences to the families of two senior Iranian clerics who passed away last week. On Saturday, the leader marked the passing of Islamic scholar Grand Ayatollah Sheikh Mohammad Sadiqi Tahrini, a renowned scholar who published numerous books on the interpretation of Al-Quran and the Shia. He died at the age of 85. He also sent condolences to the late Friday Khatib, Hajjat al-Islam Sheikh Javed Hassan Ali from the Iranian city of Taft, who passed away on March 23rd at the age of 90. From Allah we come, and unto Him is our eventual return. In other news from Iran, Iran is celebrating its second International Nowruz Festival this week. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad attended the event today with his peers from Tajikistan, Armenia, Iraq, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Qatar, and Oman. Nowruz marks the first day of spring on the solar calendar. The International Day of Nowruz was registered by UNESCO as the intangible cultural heritage of humanity last year. During Nowruz, Iranians set the haft seen as an expression of their traditional, spiritual, and social values. Haft seen is a table containing 7 items, beginning with the Farsi letter Sin, equivalent to the letter S in English. The table is set with freshly grown greens, sweet, wheat paste, apple, and a coin. The items are believed to bring health, love, beauty, and fertility in the coming year. Also from Iran, Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad said in a meeting with President Karzai of Afghanistan on Saturday that the Afghan nation and government are able to provide their country's security and welfare without the meddling and presence of foreigners. He added that Iran was ready to offer its experiences to help Afghanistan's progress security and welfare. Karzai expressed gratitude for Iran's assistance and said closer Tehran-Kabul ties and cooperation could be beneficial to both nations. We pause now for a commercial break and we'll be right back with developments in Afghanistan. Stay with us on News from the Muslim Ummah.